Hello everyone, hi, how are you guys doing today? Welcome back to another episode reaction to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is Haarute. My name is Matt. Hello. Okay, so Buffy. I am seriously considering renaming at least what remains of this season just the Faith show, because I feel like Faith has completely taken over the show at this point, which is what she would want. But like, I genuinely feel that way. Faith has brought up so many interesting things to the table that at this point, I'm like, if it's not a Faith episode, I don't want it. That's how I feel at this point. Okay, there's a couple of things I want to talk about before we begin. If you want to watch the reaction, just skip ahead. I always make it easy for people to find the exact time. But two things I want to add since last week, because while I was editing the episode, I was thinking about stuff and I was like, oh, I didn't mention this? Oh shit. One of the things that I didn't mention that I think is obvious, but I just didn't bring it up, just because I feel like I'm one of those people that I often focus on like a thing that I'm talking about, and I'm like completely ignoring another thing that is obvious that I understand, but I just didn't remember to talk about it. And it's just, this is very simple. Faith just wants validation, because ultimately people just want validation. This is a normal human thing. Faith gets nothing of that from anyone. But then the mayor comes along and he's like, hey, your powers are awesome. Do you want to work for me? And she's like, oh, you think I'm awesome? Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Like, it's not entirely the fact that, you know, like, he's someone that pays her attention. It's also just someone that is like, hey, you're cool. And she's like, I'm cool. And it's like, yes. Because, like, he's someone that is appreciating her worth entirely based on her skills, which is not good. And also, he's a terrible person. We've talked about this before. But, like, Faith doesn't really have anything that she appreciates about herself other than her skills, right? Like, she makes it part of her personality, the fact that she's a slayer. She constantly talks about, like, yeah, whatever, we can do whatever, you know, we're at the top of the world, we're slayers, like, the world bends at our will. And whether or not she fully believes that, that is what she tells herself. Because if she didn't have that, it sounds like she doesn't have anything else. So anyone is like, Faith, you're our friend. Like, we value you for who you are. She's like, what do you mean you value me for who you are? Like, what am I? I'm a slayer. And you're ignoring the fact that I'm a slayer. But then the mayor shows up and he's like, hey, you're a slayer. You're very strong. Do you want to work for me? And she's like, well, yes, that is someone that actually appreciates what I can do around here. Instead of those fucking liars who tell me that I'm worth it or whatever, fuck those people. That is just another thing that I feel like I forgot to mention, but it's pretty obvious. Okay, something else that it's not like I forgot to mention, but it's more like a change of not perspective, but just the way I feel about something, is that I feel like last week I said, and I wasn't fully committing to this thought, but I did say that I would like to see Faith like redeemed on some, like, not fully redeemed, but just someone that turns around and helps the people, like helps the main cast, like right at the last second, and then she dies for it, like, and then that would be a moment of redemption of like, we get to see Faith's humanity for a second, and I thought that that would be cool to see. I still feel like that would be cool to see. However, part of me also wants her to just keep spiraling down further and further just to see how bad it gets. Because I'm thinking about, like, what would be the most interesting things for the show to do? And I feel like, okay, she could, like, turn around and help us out at the end. And Faith is gonna have a conclusion to her storyline where she ultimately understands and realizes what actually mattered all along. And that would be nice. That would be nice for a character arc. Another thing that they could do that would be really fun to see is just for her to keep going further down worse and worse until she fucking dies in a fire screaming, it's all your fault, I fucking hate all of y'all. Like, she never gets it. Like, her entire life just passes and she never, like, understands that she was in the wrong or why she was in the wrong. Like, she's just a broken person and she dies a broken death. Like, I'm thinking something like, I mean, the character example doesn't fully apply, but I'm thinking a scene like at the end of like Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting and Obi-Wan just cuts off like 3 limbs off of him, and then he's like burning away on a lava pit and he's just screaming, I hate you. Like, I can imagine something like that, and that would be fucking sick if we saw something like that. And I don't mean like, oh, she's gonna like go away and turn into a cyborg and then come back and then she's gonna realize what actually matters in front of her son or whatever. No, I'm talking like no, she fucking dies. Like that's it. I think that would be cool to see entirely because that would leave with a really fucked up, interesting character that we have analyzed thus far, like a lot. And I'm really enjoying this character. But it would be awesome for the other characters. Awesome in the sense that it would be fucked up, but it would be really interesting to see a character like Buffy or Giles or anyone in the main cast really just seeing this happen, and then she fucking dies, like Faith just fucking dies, and they all just get left with like some really unresolved feelings, right? Of like, she died and maybe we didn't directly kill her, but we sort of killed her, and she died screaming like, I hate all of you, why did you do this to me? Like, you're all horrible people, I just wanted to be happy. Something like that, right? Like something like that would be fucked up, and I would like to see that. So those are my two choices, right? Those are my two options right now. One, Faith gets redeemed, she understands the power of friendship and stuff, she helps us out, and then maybe she dies. Like, in both best cases scenarios for me, she fucking dies. If she lives, then cool, we get to have Faith around. But I feel like her character arc is one that if she died, I would be the happiest, actually. If they want to do cooler stuff with her in the future, then okay, that would be cool too. But right now, I feel like she's one of those characters that she's gonna burn brighter than everyone else, and then she's gonna fucking leave the show. And I'm okay with that. I don't mind characters dying. I feel like whenever I get hit by characters dying is usually when it's a character that I like personal relate to. With Faith, she's a character that I consider to be incredibly interesting, and I want her to have an incredibly interesting out. And those are heel turn at the end, she helps us out and she's cool, and then she dies, like betraying the mayor, or she keeps going further down the path of villainy and becomes worse and worse and worse, and then she dies screaming in a fire that she hates the main cast and they all hate her, and that's what she thought the whole time, and everyone is just left traumatized, and then the season ends. I would like that, actually. That would be fucked up, and I would like that. And I'm not gonna lie to you, part of the reason why I think this way now is because I kept thinking about, man, Faith is just Vriska. Like, I went to the Vriska Wikipedia article, not Wikipedia, the Homestuck Wiki article, and I literally just took like the first paragraph of her personality description, and it just says, Vriska has notoriously antagonistic tendencies. She gets easily bored, makes shady deals with people, hurts others, and then slams herself because she believes that nobody likes her. And I'm sitting here like, yeah, that's just change the name right there, and that's Faith. Anyway, that's enough Homestuck for the day. Nobody needs to get into Homestuck. We're gonna watch the show now. Buffy. Patreon, check out the Patreon, link in the description below, pop up on the screen. You can support the channel, get the next 2 episode reactions already, as well as full-on reactions. Okay, ready to begin. So, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Season 3, Episode 18? 18, let's go. For that.
You demons can't resist a run and stumble, can you?
That just looks like another Doctor Who villain. We have too many demons around lately.
One down, one gone.
Okay. Oh, she got marked. Is the demon gonna get inside of her or something?
Based on the supposed date, graduation day, and the mayor being impervious to harm, I've cross-referenced. It's not the ritual flaying of the demon Azarath, nor the...
So we don't know jack shit.
This information about the Ascension will prove useful. Eventually, I just need to put it together.
Hi.
Terribly sorry, I was detained. Official council business.
It was Cordelia.
I was just filling Buffy in on my progress regarding the research of Ascension.
Oh, and what took up the rest of the minute?
I'm sure, however, with the resources of the council at your disposal, you will have something to add.
Well, I am pleased to state, with certainty,
It's not
that the demon
Azarath.
Azarath.
I knew it! I knew the joke before it landed.
He only kissed her for the greater good. To the naked eye, it looked like fun. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe he wasn't even tempted. I just wish I could be sure.
As always, I advise you to ask.
Yep.
Hey,
Hi.
look, I can't make the study session after school today.
Oh, it's the same guy.
Finish it at lunch.
That's my little trooper.
I don't
That's
know
cool.
what you're doing to him. I actually heard him complete a sentence.
You watch the game, right?
Wouldn't miss it.
See you, Hogan.
Okay, that's cool. I like that consistency.
It says it can infect the host.
Well, we're gonna have to chop off your hand, Buffy. I'm sorry. This is the only way.
Infect the host with an aspect of the demon. That's all it says.
You should be more concerned about this.
Hope it's not the outside part.
Pep Rally is a place for pseudo-prostitutes to provoke men into a sexual frenzy, which when thwarted results in pointless athletic competition.
Okay.
What if he is right? I'm suddenly gonna grow this demon part, and we don't even know what it is. It could be claws or scales.
That'd be cool.
Was it a boy demon?
I wanted to just start freaking out.
I mean, look at her. She's no better looking than the rest of them.
None of them are really mine.
Oh my God, he's looking at her.
All of a sudden, I could be something that's not me anymore.
Yeah, woohoo! Oh, sorry, they spelled Percy, and I have to show support. He's needy. I'm sure you're gonna be okay.
Oh.
Sorry.
I didn't see you, so I should have known you were there.
It's a dangerous time, you know, with Faith.
Yeah, Faith. Are you keeping me safe by tracking me, or are you tracking her?
I'm tracking you. Something's bothering you.
Maybe the fact that she's paranoid is the demon aspect. I don't know.
I won't let anything happen to you if I can help it. No matter what, I'll always be with you.
Oh boy.
I'll love you, even if you're covered with slime.
Weird, but okay.
Could you believe it? Right at the buzzer. 3 points for the win.
God, Willow's shirt is so fucking tacky. I love it.
Hey, remember when the...
Stop having fun. Buffy's here.
Pretty dope.
Are you guys crazy? It was an incredible game. I've never cheered so hard in my life. I still have knee marks on my back.
I wonder if she and Wesley have kissed.
Really bugs you, huh?
Man, you read my mind.
Yep. That's what she can do now. Oh god, that's set. She's gonna listen to someone's intrusive thoughts and she's gonna start freaking the fuck out. That is not good for her paranoia.
All the students.
When I'm a software billionaire and you're all flipping burgers, who's the loser?
This is not a good superpower to have in this situation. Or just in general, really.
It is way better than a tail. I mean, I have a hard enough time as it is finding jeans that fit right.
It's horrible, actually. This is the worst one you could get.
Most likely projecting your...
When I walked in a few minutes ago, you thought, look at her shoes. If a fashion magazine told her to, she'd wear cat strapped to her feet.
The demons are telepathic. I should have known. That's why they don't need mouths. Of course. The demons are telepathic.
You just told me. That's why they don't need mouths. And you should have known. I mean, Principal Snyder has walk like an Egyptian stuck in his head. And the boys of the school are seriously disturbed. Think about what I could do.
Oh god.
Jealousy.
Buffy, right. Very good.
This is the way the episode is gonna go. Okay, we're a third of the way through. This is the start of the second arc.
Well, he was passed over for promotion. Cassio was picked instead. And people were saying that Othello slept with his wife.
Buffy did the reading? Buffy understood the reading?
Wouldn't you get overwhelmed by like multiple people?
Miss Murray's kinda hot.
Look at them scrambling for the teacher's praise like pigeons for old bread crusts.
He's the creepy guy at the back, you know?
He writes those editorials for the school paper. He sort of admits himself that his motives are spurious. He does things because he enjoys them. He's not really a person. He's a dark half of Othello himself.
Whoa. Buffy. Really?
What the fuck happened to you, right?
Explain Othello's readiness to believe Iago. Within seconds, he turns on Desdemona. He believes that she's been unfaithful. And we're all like
I have
that.
a fun story to
We
tell
all
that
have
happened
our
to me.
little
Something similar like
internal
this.
Iago that tell us our husbands or our girlfriends or whatever don't really love us.
Okay, Buffy, this is where you need to infer the thematic idea behind what we're talking about here. Okay, let's mind read Angel, and he's gonna think something that she's gonna overthink about, and then it's gonna be half an hour of just depression.
You know, not that she was so bad to have around. You know, before the evil. You know, I think she was hurting a lot.
Is something going on with him?
People. Well, the thing about
You
Faith.
can't get into my mind.
Oh!
It's like the mirror. The thoughts are there, but they create no reflection in you.
That sounds like bullshit, but I believe it. Okay, so he knew. That's cool. And he immediately knew what she was trying to do.
You don't have to play games with me, Buffy. Never.
You can just ask.
Well, not exactly, Joe. Here's what I'm thinking.
So ask me.
Mm-hmm.
How I felt kissing her? Pretending to have no soul, watching me suffer? I hated hurting you. More than I can stand.
You know, she has that whole bad girl thing working for her.
Kissing her meant nothing. I don't want a bad girl. I mean, 243 years, I've loved exactly one person. Next time, just ask. Be careful with this gift. A lot of things that seem strong and good and powerful, they can be painful.
She can read our minds, our every impulse and fantasy.
Oh, God.
I don't see what this has to do. I don't see what this has to do with me.
I like how Cordelia thought something and immediately said it.
She's hardly even human anymore. How can I be your friend now? She doesn't need me.
No, I do need you.
I am my thoughts. If they exist in her, Buffy contains everything that is me, and she becomes me. I cease to exist.
I think about sex all the time.
I love us so much.
God, Xander, is that all you think about?
Actually?
Yes.
Bye.
Chances are you're all going to be thinking whatever you least want Buffy to hear.
Yes.
Look at Cordelia. No, don't look at Cordelia. She's a student.
Oh my god.
What's it like, Buffy?
It's awful. And I don't know if she has realized how awful it is yet.
No one else exists either. Buffy is all of us. We think, therefore she is.
She knows so much. She knows what Oz is thinking. I never know that. Before long, she'll know him better than I do.
No, don't think that.
I'm sorry, I just can't.
If you don't need me, I'm gonna follow the redhead.
Whatever. I wonder when I can go. Whatever. Can I go?
One trick mind. Okay, now we're getting into the sensory overload aspect.
It's happened before.
Okay.
A man in Ecuador, he can't communicate with anyone.
He killed himself.
No, he's in complete isolation.
Oh, okay. Okay, we're gonna take a trip to Ecuador. Well, if he didn't come back to society, it means the power didn't wear off. Well, maybe it wore off, and he just didn't realize.
Through with the mashed potatoes? She doesn't even know I'm here.
Wear that skirt yesterday.
School would be the worst place to have this superpower on, honestly. First act is like, oh man, Buffy's paranoia, and then the second act is like, oh, it's the creepy kid that writes for the newspaper. Buffy's gonna stop a school shooting. She doesn't know who it was. Girl just run out the room. Oh, she just passed out, straight up.
There's a killer in the cafeteria.
See, I've been saying for years that the lunch lady's gonna do us all in with that mulligan stew.
Boy or girl? I don't know. Hardly human. It was so full of anger and pain.
Well,
Are you sure they meant it?
Yeah, I mean, who hasn't just idly thought about taking out the whole place with a semi-automatic?
I'm not getting any more.
I bet it was Helga.
Who could it be?
Shut up! Mom, I'm fine.
How, about some soup?
Come sit with me.
I've got laundry.
Why are you...
she's avoiding.
You had sex with Giles?
Ah!
What's the candy? We were teenagers. On the hood of a police car?
Oh my.
Twice?
Okay, I've taken our life to a dozen strong.
When was the second time? Maybe it was just the one event, but it was 2 times.
Oh, please, like shame is something to be
Now
proud of.
every scene where Oz is in, I'm thinking about what he thought before. He's just contemplating, doing some philosophy shit, while everyone is worried about the plot.
Fantasies are fun, aren't they, Jonathan?
We're just interrogating students.
Sometimes we have to make it so people don't ignore us. Make them pay attention.
This is why we had several school students just appear this episode that are named, because we're not gonna know who it actually is.
Do you ever feel that you've created a false persona for yourself, the guy who does everything right, and how much of a strain does it put on you to maintain it?
I guess moderate strain? Is that a good answer? I want to get this right.
Hi, Mr. Beach. I was just wondering, were you planning on killing a bunch of people tomorrow?
Apathy on the rise. No one cares. There's just a semi-automatic rifle down there. Oh no, he's hiding.
Look at him smiling. Like he thinks I don't.
Oh, she can just listen to people from far away too. It feels like it's just getting stronger, really.
Buffy is being driven mad. We have no proof that this is going to work, and it still requires the heart of the second demon, which we have no idea how to get without the Slayer.
Who is going to get the demon heart?
Okay, we're sending Angel to get it. Do the cane of fatality on him. Just fucking and pull it out. Come on, Angel, don't job. We need you. For once, we need you to actually come through for us.
Do I often imagine classmates are spying on me or otherwise acting suspiciously? Not till just now.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Oh, I love this guy. Larry?
Just having the secret? You gotta be kind of filling up with resentment.
What secret? Being gay?
Not a secret.
Man, I'm out.
Good for you, man.
I'm so out, I've got my grandma fixing me up with guys.
Hell yeah. That's a good grandma.
Just do it. Today's editorial, titled Big Game Draws Mindless Brain Dead Mob.
She can't pick one thought out of the dead.
Oh, cool. I like that. He was just burning in the sunlight. Close the window. Cool. Okay, I feel like that should work. Oh my god! Was it that kid? Okay. Okay, it's not him.
Oh, hey, Oz.
Yeah, they're all distracted with the newspaper kid.
What murder? You're not here about the review?
The review. Dingoes ate my baby, played their instruments as if they had plump Polish sausages taped to their fingers. No, it's fair.
I'm sure you understand that I had to do it, and that although death is never easy, it's the only way.
Okay, he just sent...
Doesn't anyone write in to praise the cheerleaders?
Oh my god.
Jonathan! Ooh, Jello.
Okay, she found him. Some parkour shit in front of everybody. Ah!
I could have done that.
Oh my god.
Go away.
Never gonna happen.
You think I won't use this?
I don't know, Jonathan. I just...
Stop doing that. Stop saying my name like we're friends. You all think I'm an idiot.
I don't think about you much at all. Nobody here really does. You have all this pain, all these feelings, and nobody's really paying attention.
I just want attention.
No, I think you're up in the clock tower with a high-powered rifle because you want to blend in. My life happens to, on occasion, suck beyond the telling of it. And it's not just mine. Every single person down there is ignoring your pain because they're too busy with their own.
Damn. Lessons we're learning today.
If you could hear what they were feeling. Loneliness, the confusion. It looks quiet down there.
But everyone's screaming. Yeah.
Just wanted it to stop.
Yeah, well, mass murder, not really doctor recommended for that kind of pain.
What are you talking about? I wouldn't ever hurt anybody.
What was he gonna do?
I came up here to kill myself.
Oh, fucking what? The lunch lady. This is the dumbest fucking episode of the show. And for this show, that's saying something. He was fucking right.
Vermin. You're all vermin. You come in here and you eat filth.
I don't see this being settled with logic.
What the fuck are we doing? Okay. That was there just for the joke. Why even? Well, you know why? It's because they wanted to make that kid redeemable, right? It's like, oh no, he was never gonna kill anyone.
He got suspended, and toting a piece to school and not exactly winning him a place with the in crowd.
So, how about you fucking my mom? Should we talk about that?
It's nice to be able to help someone in a non-slaying capacity.
Yeah, that was nice,
Except he's starting to
actually.
get that look. You know, like he's gonna ask me to prom.
Oh yeah, that can happen.
We can work it after school. If you're not too busy having sex with my mother.
Alright, that's a fun ending. I feel like in the world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there is this universal constant where whenever anyone makes a joke, there is about a 1 in 3% chance that that is actually true. I was gonna say Xander, but honestly it could be anyone. Xander is just the one that makes the most amount of jokes. But really, Buffy the show has this thing where whenever anyone says anything, it comes back as a joke. Usually it's like, it's comedy, right? It's setting up something and then becomes a punchline. And it could be something as easy as I learned that it's not the demon Azeroth, and then later I have learned that and I'm like, it's not the demon Azeroth, it's not the demon Azeroth. I'm like, okay, you know, like that's a joke that was set up and then it became the punchline, and it's fun, you know, that one works out. But then it's like, hey, it was the lunch lady actually. And it's one of those things where like, that's just so fucking stupid that I don't know how to feel. Something I will say though is that I think that what they're doing is that they're setting up this kid, Jonathan, to not be like a horrible person. And it's also make it so like that entire talk and conversation is actually better. Because you have a kid who's like a school shooter or whatever. And it's like, okay, clearly things are not that easy. If he had that amount of rage and just pain that he wanted to dish out to everybody, it would not be that easy. And at the same time, like, it would make it so he would be not irredeemable, but he would be someone that you have to watch out for, right? And it would be someone that every time you see him, you'd be like, Just just making sure. It's something that would be concerning. It's something that would be worrying. But then it's like, no, actually, I was gonna kill myself. And it's like, oh, that's darker. But then who was the real killer? And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, it was the newspaper kid. It seemed like he was the red herring, but then he was actually no, he wasn't. He was the red herring, and then there was another red herring, and he was actually the lunch lady that we joked about. And that one isn't even like real. That like the lunch lady isn't even a real antagonist, right? Because it's like Sander just walks into the cafeteria and he's like, oh boy, I'm Sander, I'm the comedy character. And then he sees, as he's about to eat the poison, the lunch lady just dumping poison like a fucking cartoon character, just looking at him, just in its freeze frame. And Buffy just walks in and stops her. And the lunch lady says, you're a fucking Berman. And Buffy's like, yeah, no, I don't think talking is going to help here. And then she just punches her and that's it. And it's like, okay, that was not a real episode. That's kind of what it feels like with an ending like that. But I think that what they wanted to do is make Jonathan like a more likable character, right? It's not a character that you're afraid by as much as it is a character you kind of pity. So now it's like, okay, I feel better about this character. So if we go down that route of Jonathan is going to become another character we're going to see in the future, there were a couple characters like that in this episode, actually. But yeah, like, I think that's fun. I think that makes sense. And you have a joke ending that is also a punchline from a joke that you set up earlier. So I guess it works. But it's like, sometimes this show will go so far with its jokes that I'm just sitting here thinking like, what the fuck are we doing? That's kind of what I feel about with the lunch lady. I'm not gonna lie to you. That shit was funny. Just seeing the lunch lady just dumping the big box labeled rat poison, just dumping it, just looking at Sander, like, oh my god, that was like Looney Tunes shit. That's what that was. Okay. What's interesting about this episode is that there were actually some very interesting stuff and good stuff that happened in it. I just told my best friend about the episode, and my best friend was like, wow, it's not the angry insults we're going to worry about, it's the underpaid lunch lady. But anyway, this episode did have like a couple of like really good scenes and things that matter in it, despite whatever the fuck the quote-unquote main plot was. But there was a really cool scene when Buffy is talking down Jonathan, and you think she's talking down a school shooter, and I'm like, is it that easy? And the answer is, well, he wasn't a school shooter. He wasn't gonna shoot any students other than himself, which is darker. Is it darker? It's pretty dark. And that's like weird that we're having an episode where you're talking down someone that is about to commit suicide, but they don't tell you that he's about to commit suicide. Like, you don't know that that's what you're dealing with here. So your perspective of the character of Jonathan is like so... I don't know how I feel about that, because Jonathan is a character you're meant to think of like, oh, this guy is like kind of a piece of shit. Like, he hates everybody. Like, he has so much hatred in his heart. And then it's like, actually, no, he was never going to hurt anyone. He was just going to kill himself. And it's like, oh, now that's sad. Now I feel sad about this kid. But like, you only feel that way after they tell you that. Okay, so we're going to weave this into the thematic idea behind what the episode was going for here. The scene where Buffy talks to Jonathan, she manages to bring in her experience throughout this episode, which, okay, whenever she got mind reading powers, I was like, oh, that's really bad. That's like actually horrible. They should grab whatever was left of that like demon heart juice that she drank and just send that shit to that man in Ecuador. They should do that. Can't the man in Ecuador listen to the thoughts of like animals and stuff? Like, is he like isolated in the jungle listening to some like snakes and shit? I don't know. But anyway, what I'm getting to is the conversation that they had. Buffy eventually ended up saying something like, you think that everyone's thinking that you're shit, like you're fucking stupid or whatever. Everyone's making fun of you for you being short, but that's not really what they're thinking. What they're thinking about is their own shit, because everyone is just dealing with their own shit. Everyone is just dealing with their own problems. And Buffy has been hearing those problems. Buffy has been hearing those insecurities from people around her. So she's having this moment of like, everyone is just dealing with their own shit. And this is true. This is just a true thing that is also like a very... It's a good lesson to like any teenager, or even not just teenager, but this is a very teenage problem, just insecurity and feeling like, you know, everyone's against you on some level, which is it's fun because Buffy was the one that was being super paranoid earlier in the episode. But at the end of the episode, she's coming on the other end with a positive mindset of like, I thought that everyone was just like doing shit to me or doing something that would be horrible for me. But at the end of the day, everyone's just dealing with their own pain, their own issues, their own problems. They don't have time to think about me. And that's not a bad thing. And the same goes for this kid. Look at me, she doesn't even notice that I'm here or something like that. And it's like, well, no, in that very scene, that was the exact display of what that was like. I'm talking about the scene where they're at the cafeteria and Buffy passes out. But before that, she talks to Jonathan and he was like, are you done with those mashed potatoes or something like that? And Buffy's just freaking out about her superpower just being overwhelming for her. And he's thinking, look at her, she doesn't even notice I'm here. It's like he is paranoid about what she is thinking when we see Buffy's perspective, and Buffy is like thinking about anything except that. Like she's just worried about her losing her goddamn mind. And that's exactly what that was like. That was exactly the point that the episode was trying to come across here. That helped Jonathan out because Jonathan was insecure about a lot of things about himself and how people see him. But at the end of the day, he ends up coming with the realization that, you know what, people deal with their shit, I deal with my shit, and we all think that everyone's against us sometimes, but like at the end of the day, like that's not really the case. Everyone's just dealing with life in general. And I like how Buffy was talking about, like, you know, like the jocks, the bullies, and whatever, like all the people around you that you think are against you, that you think they're just making life hell for you, but really they're just dealing with their own stuff. Like that's true, because you also see it a little bit in the episode, because this episode actually featured several students that some of them you've seen before, some of them I think you don't. I'm thinking about that one girl that she looks at Buffy doing parkour and she's like, I could have done that, you know? Like she was upset earlier from class. I don't know who she was. I don't know if we've seen her before. But we've seen the one jock. He's the guy that Willow is tutoring. Yeah, that was cool. It's cool that he came back. Like that's a consistent thing. We got to see Larry back. I think his name was Larry, the gay dude. And he's like, yeah, man, my grandma's hooking me up with some guys. And it's like, that's cool, grandma. Even something like the newspaper kid, because like the newspaper kid, he's a red herring, right? He's a character you're meant to look at him and it's like, oh, this guy is the school shooter kind of guy, you know? Like when they wrote that character, they were like, all right, this is the school shooter guy, but he's not gonna be the school shooter. That's the fun twist, you know. Dark hair, he's kind of pale, he sits at the back of the class, he's kind of mean, very cynical, and he writes, you know, like everyone's a brainless dumb bitch or whatever he wrote on the newspaper, and it's like that's just his thing. For some reason, no one is alarmed by this. This is just normal, and that's supposed to be like, oh, he's clearly the guy. He's clearly the guy we're after. And then it's like, actually no, that the joke is that he's not. But then when you actually confront him about it, he's like, every time I write something, people come at me and they start fighting me for it, you know, like because I write something bad about them. So I just didn't want to deal with that. And like that's something that does make sense also. And I'm, you know, like I'm not even gonna say that, you know, he's a good person or whatever, but it's one of the things where like, well, I can understand that like if you say anything about people on the newspaper or whatever, and then people come to complain to you, starting beef with you, maybe eventually down the line you're just gonna turn into a cynical asshole, because you're gonna be like, you know what, fuck you too, you're just sucking, your dick is small. And that's what he writes in the newspaper, and that's what the newspaper is now. And obviously everyone is angry at him for it, but at this point he hates everybody, so fuck it, you know. It's a YouTuber problem. It's like, okay, was he a terrible person before, or did he become a terrible person after reading the YouTube comments? It's like, well, I don't know, but like that's a possible explanation. Like that's the thing, it's that like that's also a problem he has to deal with. The jock guy, he has to deal with the fact that he's failing, and Willow is like, no, you gotta do this shit. And there was also that other kid, I don't know if it was the same person actually, it might have been the same guy, but I don't think it was, that Oz was like talking about it, and he was like, do you feel like you have a lot of pressure to excel at the things that you're doing because you have to keep your image of being the perfect cool guy? And I love that he was like, oh man, that's a good question. I don't know, what average answer, I guess. I don't know, man, I don't want to fail this question. And it's like, oh my god, it's like, that's good, because like from that you can infer the fact that he's like, he hasn't actually thought about whether or not that is the case, but he doesn't want to fail at the question, even though it's not a question you fail. He's just thinking like, man, I just want to do good, which is the answer then is yes. And I like that Oz was like, okay, I see. This is just like all these minor things of like, about like people dealing with their problems at school, because like high school sucks. There's just the thing, high school fucking sucks. At that age, surrounded by that amount of people and everyone's just doing their thing, it sucks. And like it's normal for you to think that it sucks for me only and other people have it great, but the reality is that really everyone's dealing with their own shit, you know, either by expectations or at home or whatever. People have shit to deal with and they're focused on that more than you. And of course this is not something that's absolute, but I think it's mostly the case. So I like that little message we had there. And I suppose we can draw the thing about you not knowing exactly who Jonathan is until after he was talked down to. I suppose you can draw that into the thematic idea of the episode, that you think that you know him and you're making assumptions in your head. So you're like, oh, fuck this kid, you know, he's like gonna shoot down his school, fuck him. And then it's like, no, actually he was gonna commit suicide. And it's like, oh, well, now I feel bad for thinking that way about him. Now I pity him. And I feel horrible that I thought that because I was part of the problem. So maybe that is something the episode is trying to do. I'm not gonna say that that's the case. I'm just giving it a way out. Because the way I feel about it, it feels like they probably didn't think about it that way. They probably just wanted to make the lunch lady joke land, or they wanted to reuse the character of Jonathan in the future. It's like, hey, let's keep Jonathan around. You know, he can show up again. Who else? The lunch lady. Yeah, that's a good callback. That's a good punchline. Let's go with that. I'm gonna say that it's more likely for this show to do that than for actually having thought about the layers that I just thought about. But it couldn't happen. Again, this is why I would like to have a writer's commentary to some of these episodes to know if this was explicitly stated at some point. Joyce fucked Giles twice, and that is now something we know about. I don't know if we all know about it, but Buffy knows about it, so she just knows. We don't really know anything else other than that. She was just like, oh my god, Mom, you fucked Giles? And it's like, oh boy. And then at the end of the episode, she brings it back, and Giles just walks into a tree, and that's funny. But that's just something that's out in the air. In the future, that is a topic of conversation. But right now, it was just a thing that happened. Another important thing that happened is Buffy freaking out about Angel and Faith and whether or not, Angel liked Faith on some level. Buffy was being very paranoid at the first third of the episode before she learned her lesson at the end. But I like how so many characters just look at Buffy and they go just talk. Right? Just ask. Willow tells Buffy, just go and ask him. Just talk to him. And Buffy, instead, she gets her mind reading powers and she goes to Angel and she immediately starts talking about Faith and being like, I want him to think about Faith just to see what he thinks about. And when I saw that scene, I was like, oh, this is how we hear what he has to say about Faith, and Buffy's gonna lose her mind. But no, the way it goes is different. It's the fact that Buffy's actively trying to draw that information out of Angel, playing games. Really, she's playing games with him, which is a little bit dark. And then he's like, Buffy, stop, I can tell you're trying to do this and it's not gonna work because apparently vampires have mind shields, I guess, because the reflection of the mind cannot be reflected like a mirror. I guess, but yeah, it doesn't work. I like that more. As bullshit as that sounds, I like that more because Angel is just sitting there and I'm like, oh, there's something wrong with him. And it's like, no, he's just aware of what Buffy's trying to do. And he's like, Buffy, stop. There's something wrong. We need to talk. And Buffy is like, yeah, but that would make too much sense. I want to do this way. And Angel is like, Buffy, I can tell that you feel paranoid. You feel anxious. You feel like I like Faith, but I didn't like you. And it's like, you can just ask me. And then Buffy asks him and he just tells her. He tells her the truth, and that's it. That's what we need to do. We need to have a real normal conversation. God damn it. And I like that scene because, again, I'm just a fan of people talking things out. I'm just a fan of characters being like, just fucking stop with the dumb superpower bullshit. Just talk to each other. God damn it. So I like that Angel takes that approach and he just says it out loud. And I like that whatever Buffy was doing didn't work. I like that very much. We got some confirmations as to what characters think about constantly. Xander is constantly thinking about sex. We knew that. Willow is anxious. Willow thinks oh my god, I'm gonna be replaced or whatever. And Oz. Oz is my fucking favorite. I fucking love Oz. Just in general, I love his character. I always do. But the fact that Buffy looks inside of Oz's mind, and Oz always has this looking into the distance contemplative look. And this time we actually got to hear his thoughts. And he's just thinking to himself like, but if Buffy can read my thoughts, it means that my thoughts are no longer my thoughts. So they are Buffy's thoughts. Therefore, Buffy becomes me. So I'm no one. Buffy is me because Buffy has my essence. And if she can do that to everyone else, it means that Buffy is everyone. So there's no need for anyone else anymore. Buffy is all of us. It's like, what? Oh my god, like again, I love Oz because that's the kind of shit that I do, right? Those are my thoughts sometimes. And I love that Oz is just like he's just becoming a philosopher. He's like doing Plato's allegory of the cave with Buffy's mind reading powers. And Buffy's like, okay, you do that. you just do that thing. I'm not even gonna bother listening to that. It's just like, oh my god. And like it's funny because later in the episode we had other scenes where Oz was in and he wasn't talking, because that's just what Oz does. He's in scenes but he doesn't really talk much, and he's just looking contemplative, and I'm just sitting here thinking like, what is he thinking about? Like what fucking philosophy student bullshit is he up to now? I fucking love Oz. He's the best. He's my boy. Okay, what else do we talk about? I mean, Wesley's horny for Cordelia. Okay, here's what's up. People have told me that there is no stated age for Wesley, so take that as whatever you will. However, Wesley's actor's age is 4 years older than Cordelia, but then I was told that Cordelia's actress age is like 10 years older than her character age. Cordelia's 18 in canon, her actress is like 28, and Wesley is like 32, and he looks 32. And like that's the thing, it's that he looks old. He doesn't look like he's in his mid-20s or whatever. If he was in his mid-20s, it would still be weird, but it would be like, okay, whatever. You know, like, you're still kind of a kid at like 24, I guess. So I guess an 18 to a 24-year-old wouldn't be too bad. But if we start getting into 30s, and she's not even 20 yet, I'm seeing, and she's in literal high school. Bro, what? The thing is that the show acknowledges that, while simultaneously writing it. Because like he thinks to himself like, oh no, I mustn't think about that, I'm a bad man. And it's like, bro, what are we doing? Again, I'm just gonna keep bringing that up because I think it's weird. And the fact that the show itself is like, no, this is bad, and then continues to do it with characters that we're supposed to like on some level. I'm like, what the fuck is this? That's all I have to say. They really should give that man in Ecuador the leftovers of the potion. That man needs it. I don't know if FedEx ships there, but maybe. Okay, a story I wanted to talk about that I mentioned briefly that I was going to say something later. So that scene where they were at the classroom and Buffy was just nailing questions. Yeah, this is the meaning behind the book or whatever. And then it became thematically appropriate to the episode. He believes that she's been unfaithful. We all have a little internal Lagos that tell us that our husbands or our girlfriends or whatever don't really love us. We can never really see what's in someone's heart. And the way Buffy takes that is like, oh, I'm gonna go trick Angel because this fuels into my paranoia. But the way she should take it is kind of the opposite. You keep thinking that things are away instead of just seeing what it really is like. You should just ask him, because Angel is not gonna lie to you. Like he's a very honest person. You ask him and he sees that there's something wrong, he was just gonna be like, hey, okay, I understand, let me help. And I like that moment later because in that scene he said like, Buffy, like if there's something I can do to help, I'll fucking do it. Like I don't give a shit. And then later in the episode, during daytime, Buffy's losing her mind and screaming, and Angels runs in. He's like almost like destroying the door down. They come in, they open the door, and he like comes in covered in this like jacket or something. He's like burning and he's like, I got it. You know, it's like, oh, he was fighting that demon until the daytime to get his heart and to get the potion. So like, that's cool. It's cool that we get to see how like dedicated he was to that. Anyway, that's besides the point. That classroom scene reminded me of something because I don't think I've told this story before, at least not on Buffy and maybe not on the channel. I think I told it on stream. That's that moment where Buffy said something and everyone was like, and the teacher was like, Buffy, that's incredibly perceptive of you or whatever. And it's like, I had a story similar to that I want to tell because I think it's funny. Yeah, it was my final year of primary school. So 7th grade, I was 13. So the way it works in Argentina is that we had to do some entrance exams for high school. And what we did is that they prepared us doing several other entrance exams from previous years. So we would have an idea of what an entrance exam for a new year would kind of be like. And we did some something like that, some kind of test. And this was my language teacher, which is, I think it's the equivalent of your English teacher, you know? And what we had to do for this one final thing in the test is we were given this little story, a short story about two birds, and these birds were like friends or something. I don't fully remember what the story was like. 2 paragraphs, like long paragraphs, and then the third act of the story was blank, and you had to write the third act of the story yourself. And so the story was about, I suppose it was kind of similar to this episode, honestly. You know, there were these 2 birds, and it was like cartoon birds, you know, like they were supposed to be cartoon birds because this was from a book, and in the book there was like a little cartoon birds, and they were friends, but then one of them was distrustful of the other because they thought the other was thinking something or gonna do something or some shit. I don't remember the details. And one of them was mean to the other was resentful. I don't fully remember how that worked. So what I did was, I ended up writing the darkest third act for this story because I don't fully remember what it was, but it was something like, it ended with, like, they fought and then they split, and then one of them like laughed and was like sad or whatever, and then the other was like, yeah, fuck that guy or something like that. A week passed and he hadn't heard from his friend or something, so then he went to his house, no one was answered, so he like burst the door down and he found like his friend's dead body hanging from a rope on the ceiling or something like that. And this is what I remember that I should have been writing for like dumb cartoon birds, because I just straight up forgot that part of the story. I was just focused on the characters and how they were feeling. I completely forgot what the setting was, and I was like, oh, like this doesn't make much sense. Like I didn't even consider that the fact that it was like super dark was like actually a bad thing. I was just like, oh, this doesn't make sense actually. Why would birds have houses, limbs to knock on doors? Like, but I suppose in animation you can like sort of make that work. Why would a bird be hanging from the ceiling? Like, that wouldn't work because they would just flap and then the rope wouldn't do much. And you can say like, well, they wouldn't flap. It's like, no, your body would instinctually do something in order for you to not pass out, to not choke. Oh, maybe that bird would tire itself out by flapping enough, but not being able to remove the rope. Oh, so maybe it would tire itself out and it would eventually asphyxiate. Damn, okay. It's even darker than I thought. Okay, anyway. Literally the last 5 minutes of this test, everyone was like turning in their test and the teacher is like, we're about to end. And I'm sitting here thinking like, wait, shit, this was supposed to be about some dumb birds. And then I was like, what do I do? And then I erased like a final sentence or something, and then I was like, okay, I'm about to rewrite this shit. All of the emotional conflict between these 2 birds and the suicide was still there. But what I did is that I did the oldest writing trick in the book, which is also the worst one. I just went and said like, actually, that's when he woke up because he was actually having a nightmare. It was all a dream and his friend was probably okay. But what happened is that now he learned his lesson. He went and talked to his friend and they had a real meaningful conversation when they learned from each other. And they were able to come to terms and actually be nice to each other instead of being resentful and not talking. And it's like, oh man, I just fucking wrote that shit and honestly it wasn't bad, right? Honestly, that's not a terrible way to end it. It wasn't probably as good as I just explained it. It was something more rushed, but it was among the lines of like, it was all a dream, JK, they're fine now. And I just turned that in. So this was on like a Friday. And then I had to go back to class on like a Monday. And then the teacher is giving all the tests back with their scores. And she's just giving them away. And well, she's like naming people and then we have to go and get it from her. And then she gets to mine. And I remember that she literally just like froze. And then she stayed silent for like 10 seconds. And then she was like, and she called my name. And I was like, oh boy, yes. And then she was like, so this, do you read a lot? And I'm like, no. And she was like, yeah, because this story is it's very mature and it's complex. And it struck me as someone that had like a lot of reading experience. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I just play video games, man. Like I don't know what to tell you. I was just like, thank you. And she was like, yeah. And then she gave me my test, and she was like, you know what? Good job. And I was like, thanks a lot, ma'am. And I had like a good score and everything. She liked it, I guess. So to this day, I don't know if she liked it or if she just straight up was like, yeah, I'm afraid this kid is gonna kill himself, so I'm just gonna give him a pat in the back, just make sure he's okay. I wonder what she thought when she read that thing from this like 13-year-old kid, because like in my mind, I never even considered the fact that would have been too dark. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And it wasn't until that moment where she was like, hey, when she like paused and froze, that I realized, oh, maybe that was dark, because she straight up says that this is too mature. And I'm like, I guess no one else in the class wrote something like that. I mean, I guess no one else is thinking about suicide as much as I do. So anyway, that's something that happened. I got a good score, and I also got in a very good high school. The best high school in the city at the best time, and then I dropped out of depression when I was 16. And that's my story. That's just a fun story I always like to tell, because the moment where that teacher literally she's just calling out names, she's just handing out papers. She's like, hey, Gonzalez, fucking Fernandez, Mino. That was really funny to me. I'll never forget that. And that was actually like, did kind of make me proud a little bit of my writing. My writing sucks. I don't actually write, but at age 13, it made me proud. I was like, fuck yeah, I wrote about birds committing suicide and then learning lessons out of a kind of a desperation rush, and it worked out for me. I wonder if I still have that test somewhere like stored in here or something. That was just a fun story I wanted to talk about. All right, I think that's gonna be it for this episode. I don't know if I have anything else to say. It was just a weird episode. There were some really good scenes, and then there were some funny as shit scenes. The lunch lady pouring the rat poison in the most cartoony ass way is the best frame in the entire episode. It's fucking dumb. I'm looking at it again. She like is pouring it, and she's looking at Sander, and then she looks back at the poison, and then she looks at Sander again. It's so fucking dumb. I'm just gonna leave now. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer with me. See you guys next week. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching this episode reaction to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. If you would like to watch the next episode reaction, you can do so over at the Patreon. Check out the link in the description below, social media, all sorts of cool stuff that I do, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care everybody. Bye bye.